All right, I want to cut across right now to Shuja ul Haq, my colleague, joining us live for more updates on this. Shuja, what more can you add?
Well, yes, Preeti, after this recent flashpoint that has, once again emerged on the line of actual control, and this time on the southern bank of Pangong Lake, what we are given to understand is that the tensions are prevailing and the situation seems to be very serious. And, it is visible in the kind of preparations that are being made. Locals from Ladakh and adjoining areas have been reporting that there is movement of heavy machinery and artillery that one can see being carried out over past few days. So all of it definitely points towards the fact that India seems to be readying to deal with any eventuality, any possibility whatsoever emerges on the line of actual control after this recent standoff once again that has emerged particularly in the Pangong area of the line of actual control.
Shuja, what kind of weaponry is being moved right now?
Well, what is very clear in the pictures also that we have access, it does clearly look like the Bofors guns have been, doing a lot of movement on the line of actual control. In fact, on the highway also, a lot of people have suggested that, movement of these Bofors guns can be seen. Otherwise, also the sources suggest that tanks and other heavy machinery heavy defensive and offensive machinery has been put into service. They've been brought in and have been deployed at various places along the line of actual control. We are also constantly given to understand from the sources who are on the ground who suggest that the deployment is being reinforced constantly. In fact, after 29th and 30th, what happened on the intervening night of 29th and 30th, it has been suggested that there is a strong possibility that there could be more standoffs, and that's why the Indian Army seems to be readying to deal with all possibilities that could emerge in this sector.
Shuja, even as we speak right now, the highway connecting Srinagar to Leh has been blocked for civilian traffic and only motorable by the army. Am I correct?
Well, Preeti, that was the case definitely yesterday, but we were given to understand that now some civilian movement is also being allowed, particularly for those who are the residents of Ladakh, Kargil and other areas. But there is no doubt in the fact that a lot of defense, movement is being observed. A lot of convoys of the defense forces is being observed on this highway, and it's pretty much standard operating procedure that one could if one could call it, that in these tense circumstances it's obvious that the forces are being deployed, redeployed, or fortified at various places. So it will definitely need a lot of movement on the ground of the troops and the machinery, and that's exactly what we are witnessing happening in these pictures as well, which we are playing out for our viewers.
Appreciate you joining us, Shuja. Thank you there. Meanwhile, it's an India Today exclusive on the ongoing standoff between India and China. The Indian and Chinese tanks are within firing distance of each other at Pangong Lake. Chinese battle tanks and armored vehicles are near the foothills of the Kala Top mountain, feature occupied by Indian forces. The Chinese tanks have been held off because dominant positions are held by Indian Special Frontier Team at Kala Top, while other army units are on the other adjoining heights. Indian Tank Regiment already deployed in plains just southwest of the Flashpoint between Pangong Tso and Chushu. I want to connect right now to my colleague Abhishek Bhalla, who's going to get us more on this information that is coming in, exclusive information available with India Today. Abhishek, is it true in terms of what your sources are telling you that Indian and Chinese tanks are both in very close distance of each other?
Well, Preeti, there has been a big mobilization of troops as well as weapon systems, including tanks and artillery guns. And obviously, the situation remains very volatile because, the situation has changed drastically as far as the south bank of Pangong Lake is concerned. India is holding on to 3 hilltops, which the Chinese believe is changing status quo, something that India had been saying till now, that China has made attempts to change status quo, but now officially China has said that India has crossed the line of actual control, even though India has denied this, but sources do tell me that there are some strategic heights that were unmanned till now, which are in Indian occupation as of now, and that is what has riled the Chinese PLA.
All right, Abhishek, continue to stay on with us. Meanwhile, India today has now accessed exclusive operational details of how India pushed back the intruding Chinese troops. Sources reveal that Indian forces got advance warning about the Chinese intention to occupy Kala Top Height. The Vikas Regiment Battalion of Indian Army moved from Uttarakhand and was deployed near the southern bank of Pangong Tso. The Indian troops successfully managed to evade Chinese surveillance and smashed Chinese cameras. Surveillance equipment near Kala Top. The Chinese tools used to spy on Indian territory were removed by Indian troops after occupying the post on August 29th and 30th. The Indian soldiers had noticed suspicious movement on the night of August 29th. The Chinese were moving in a vehicular convoy. Vikas Regiment posted and Sikh light infantry acted swiftly and captured the strategic height. The Chinese intention was to capture the dominant hill on the Indian side. Taking over the hilltop was important to keep Chinese troops in check as they increase their deployment in the areas close to Kala Top and Helmut at the LAC. I want to connect right back to Abhishek Bhalla, who's with us. Abhishek, talk us through on how India actually became dominant on these crucial peaks and why was it important?
Well, Preeti, on the night of August 29th, when the Chinese movement was noticed, the Indian troops were very quick to react, and the reason for that is because what Indian Army has said is that this was a preemptive action. Why they say that it's a preemptive action? Because they had clear information about what the Chinese are up to. This was because Indian Army had enhanced its surveillance. There was also a lot of reconnaissance that was going on, and other than this, there was a flurry of intelligence that the Chinese want to open another front at the south bank, want to take over hilltops. Because this information was there with the Indian Army was in a position of strength to make sure that they take over the hills much before the Chinese come in there. Although there are reports that there were a few skirmishes and some jostling, but the Indian Army has denied that. The Indian Army has maintained that there was no physical violence. It's true that the kind of violence that has taken place earlier, be it at Galwan or at Pangong Lake on the northern bank, nothing of that sort of has happened, but situation remains extremely tense and volatile as of now.
Abhishek, continue to stay on with me. I want to take our viewers to who the brave men were who surprised Chinese troops when they tried to intrude the LAC on the August 29th. The Special Frontier Forces, formed in 1962, secured the strategic heights from China. Here's the full report.
Decisive action, preempting another Chinese aggression. For the second time since the Ladakh standoff began, China, shocked, caught completely off guard and fuming. Seeing Chinese movements towards this location last week, this is where India has moved in, grabbing a dominating position on the south bank of the Pangong Lake. But who were these men who moved in the darkness to surprise the Chinese and occupy heights that look down on the Chinese supply lines? They're very hush-hush. They're drawn from the Indian Army, but not part of the army itself. Meet the Special Frontier Force. Formed in 1962 to conduct covert operations behind Chinese lines, It was this secretive special unit that was mobilized into action on the night of August the 29th. Known also as Establishment 22 or the Vikas Regiment, the SFF operates under India's External Intelligence Agency, the Research and Analysis Wing or RAW, and is based in Chakrata, Uttarakhand. The Specialized Commando Unit is comprised in most part by Tibetan resistance fighters, some of the world's most hardy mountain warriors. Their knowledge of Himalayan terrain and their ability to operate effectively at such altitudes is the reason why this unit is one of the most formidable on this terrain. The officers who command them are from the Indian Army's Parachute Regiment. The Vikas Regiment warriors train year-round for the most grueling operations, where they must operate beyond the abilities of their bodies and facing enemies more lethal than Chinese soldiers. Their history of combat has prepared them for this. After the 62 war, the secretive Vikas Regiment has quietly done its chief task, conducting reconnaissance, sabotage and other covert operations inside Chinese-held territory. The missions remain in the grey realm of shadow, without corroboration or confirmation, just the way they wish it. The Special Frontier Force saw major combat action in the 1971 India-Pakistan War, with deployments in the eastern sector to undermine the East Pakistan Army. With the Vikas Regiment seeing decisive action against an aggressive Chinese, the commando unit is finding rare mention in the public space. As tensions mount on both banks of the Pangong Lake, the Special Frontier Force's role in the current standoff is likely far from over. Bureau Report, India Today.
Meanwhile, after India thwarted Chinese intrusion bid in south bank of Pangong Lake, another round of brigade commander level talks is underway in Chushul on the Indian side. Sources say that the agenda of the meet includes discussion on 2-3 contentious areas in south bank of Pangong Lake. India will also raise concerns about Chinese deployment in areas like Blacktop and Helmet Top. Similarly, China also wants Indian troops to vacate advantageous strategic heights in several hilltop areas.
They are on absolute back foot. We have in our custody all the strategic heights from where we can dominate the southern part of the lake, which includes positions of the Chinese, as well as the positions on the northern side, which is particularly in the lower position. Hence, China is now being forced to come onto the negotiating table and discuss with us. Obviously, China would want India to pull back, but India has categorically made it known to them that this area belongs to them, and we have only acted in our own interest.
On one side, the talks are going on in which China has been attempting, and on the other side, it's a treachery and a deception that they wanted to occupy this area. In fact, this area was dormant, and I would like to appreciate the alertness of Indian armed forces that in the night time, in this difficult area, they were alert, prepared, and moved with speed and have occupied this area, which is going to be giving a strategic advantage to India in this present scenario.
Meanwhile, India Today's Rahul Kanwal explains through maps the latest flashpoint in Pangong Tso between India and China.
So this is the Pangong North Bank. It's on the south bank this time that the Chinese tried to intrude onto Indian soil. The Indian Army completely ready for them. Remember, 1/3 of the Pangong Lake is on the Indian side, 2/3 of the Pangong Lake is on the Chinese side. This is the line of actual control. China has come up till finger 4, even though they've pulled back till finger 5, but all of that is on the north bank. What happened on the 29th is that the Chinese tried to come in the dead of the night, past the line of actual control on the Indian side of the south bank of the Pangong Lake. What we're hearing is, in response to this operation, India then mounted a counter-offensive operation where there were Chinese posts. And remember, the Chinese charge of India crossing over onto Chinese side is wrong, because this is the Indian perception of the line of actual control. So we went in, there were Chinese posts there, some of the finest special forces of the Indian military involved, and we pushed the Chinese back.
Meanwhile, after China's bid to intrude into Indian territory failed, the Dragon has upped the ante against China. China has now blamed India for trespassing into its territory at the southern bank of Pangong Tso Lake and near the Rekin Pass in the western sector of India-China border. China also lodged protests with Indian side through diplomatic and military channels. Spokesperson of the Chinese embassy in India has blamed India for provocation and also blamed Indian troops of violating the consensus reached in previous multi-level engagements between the two sides. China's mouthpiece, Global Times, too, said that the Dragon can make India suffer if it wants to engage in competition. India, meanwhile, has made its stand clear that it is open for the disengagement and not interested in further escalation. However, India has made it clear that it will forcibly preempt any hostile actions. All right, let's move on right now in the bulletin. It's been 115 days since the Ladakh standoff has been simmering, and it's clear that China will not be backing down. Despite several rounds of military and diplomatic level talks, China hasn't honored its commitment of restoring status quo, from moving its troops and battle tanks to deploying fighter jets along the LAC. Here's how the tension has been building up.
No trust. No disengagement. No pullback. Full aggression, full hostility, full duplicity. The Chinese once again proved themselves worthy of India's total distrust. China's latest attempt to mount hostile actions on the southern banks of the Pangong Lake come 116 days after the standoff in eastern Ladakh began. Ironically, the fresh attempted aggression by China takes place just a few kilometers from where the standoff was originally triggered, on the north banks of the Pangong Lake on May 5th. That clash escalated into a wider standoff by China at 3 more flashpoints in the Galwan Valley, Hot Springs and Gogra Post. On 6 June, recognizing the warlike mobilization, the two sides held unprecedented Lieutenant General level talks to defuse the situation. But those talks proved futile, because just 9 days later, things exploded on June 15 in the Galwan Valley. With a violent clash that killed several troops on both sides, an incident revealed and detailed first on India Today. On June 19, China escalated aggressions by occupying the ridgeline at Pangong Tso's Finger 4 with semi-permanent positions. On June 23rd, India Today reported on satellite images depicting crucial Chinese movements on the southern banks of the Pangong Tso. Just days later, on July 3rd, Prime Minister Modi visited Ladakh. A few days later, the two sides arrived at an agreement to disengage. But even as a token pullback was witnessed in the Galwan Valley and the Hot Springs area, India Today told you how China was continuing to remain deployed in the crucial Pangong area as well as Gogra Post. A tense calm followed, with the Chinese refusing to move back further and India remaining fully mobilized. On August 29, things erupted again, and the Indian Army was lying in wait. Late last week, intelligence reports flashed the Chinese army movements across the line of actual control in the Chushul sector near the Pangong Tso lake, a place where the Chinese had been building up force levels since late June. The latest incident saw the Indian army thwart the Chinese aggression with sharp preemptive action. But in doing so, it has also confirmed that China hasn't changed its intent even a little. It remains fully hostile and nothing has changed. For India, this war is a war of sovereignty. Bureau Report, India Today.
With China trying to create fresh trouble after changing the status quo on the south bank of Pangong Tso over the weekend, the intentions of Beijing are clear. Though alert Indian troops thwarted the intrusion, the writing is on the wall. While China continues to engage in talks, it will continue to attempt brazenly trying to take over Indian territory. But India is keeping a hawk's eye and has deployed its prime asset all along the line of actual control.
The fighter jets soar high above, scanning enemy airspace and ground for hostile movement. The warships and submarines have sailed out to checkmate the adversary on the high seas, with some naval assets sailing out close to the Malacca Straits. The army has increased its deployment all along the LAC from Ladakh through Uttarakhand and Sikkim to Arunachal Pradesh to ensure the Chinese notorious for stabbing India in the back do not succeed.
Now we have to either raise the level of negotiation up to the ministerial level or the external affairs ministry level, or we go for a military action, whatever the government feels is fit. Because the army is prepared for both the things. We have to check them. We cannot allow them to change the line of actual control which China is trying to make.
The latest and the most potent Rafale Omni-Role fighter jets are soaring in the skies, adapting to Indian Air Force requirements as part of different combat missions. The IF Sukhoi 30, MKIs, MiG-29 ASF and Mirage 2000s are flying different missions in different sectors. The Chinook helicopters are virtually worth their weight in gold, quickly moving men and material to different locations. The Apache attack helicopters, lovingly called the flying tanks, have carried out sorties on both flanks of the LAC in support of tanks deployed in some areas for the first time. The 155mm howitzers, including the light howitzers, have been deployed and additional gun positions carved out to checkmate China.
भारत अब ऐसी हालात में है कि आंख में आंख देख के बात करेगा और ईंट का जवाब पत्थर से देगा और जब तक चीन यथास्थिति मेंटेन नहीं करेगा अप्रैल 2020 की भारत किसी हद तक जाने के लिए तैयार है.
India's aggressive tri-services deployment and quick acquisition of arms, ammunition and spares sends out a strong signal to the adversary. India will protect every inch of its territory from expansionist forces. Bureau Report, India Today.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.